is the star of $1 Million Listing New York.
I'm a super seller.
Sigge is a comedian, author, and top Swedish podcast host.
You need to listen to this.
Together, they share a fascination with what makes something sell. Buying and Selling starts now on Sirius XM Stars.
Welcome to Buying and Selling. I'm Fredrik Eklund, the #1 real estate agent in New York and star of $1 Million Listing New York on Bravo. Here by my side is my brother.
And my name is Sigge Eklund, podcaster and author from Sweden.
And we named the show Buying and Selling because we're all buyers and sellers every single day, right? When you go on a date, you're selling. When you're looking for a new job, you're selling. When you're negotiating with your boss, you're definitely selling.
You're selling this show pretty good right now.
I hope so. So we're gonna discuss all aspects of buying and selling. We also have an amazing celebrity guest coming up, Yoga Girl. She has millions of followers on Instagram. And
she seems shamelessly happy.
Well, that's what we're going to find out. We're going to dig deeper and ask her and quiz her on happiness. So when you buy an apartment, right, Sigge? You buy a vacation, you buy a luxury handbag, you're really buying happiness, or at least the future promise of happiness.
Right.
So what we're going to find out today is, can long-term happiness be bought? Can it be sold? And what's the price we're paying to be happy in today's society? Sigge,
Right.
how are you today?
I'm fine, and let me start with something I read on the way here, actually. It has to do with buying and selling, because it's something that people are buying right now that I found very fascinating. I was laughing in the elevator up here. Have you heard of dinosaur porn?
Excuse me?
It's a new genre of erotic literature that is turning on thousands of women around the globe
Dinosaur
right now.
like T-Rex?
Yeah, I know it sounds absurd, but if you think about it, the boundaries of porn are always like people are pushing it. People want more and more weird things.
Right, I've heard of monster. I mean, that's a sub-genre, right?
Yeah,
monster
right.
sex.
I mean, you remember when we were kids, porn was pretty innocent compared to now.
Yeah,
You know,
80s,
the camera would stand on a tripod and the sex would take place far away from the camera and you couldn't see much. Today, everything is very brutally detailed. So it's not a big surprise really that erotic literature is always so evolving after 50 Shades of Grey and everything.
Yeah, but explain this dinosaur thing. I don't understand.
Well, one of the most popular titles is Taken by the T-Rex, for example. And I looked at the story on the backside of the book. It sounds very intriguing.
Okay.
It's about a cave woman who's tired of being ignored by her caveman, and she wants to leave the cave, but he won't let her. So one day she sneaks out when he's out hunting, and that's when she meets the T-Rex, who takes her to his nest, squeezes her with his claws, and licks her naked body, and she goes wild. This is a very popular trend right now. There's a quote on the cover where the cave woman says, "I couldn't believe this was happening. I had a 10-ton monster licking my ass." So, and a subgenre, as you mentioned, is the monster porn with leprechauns and small elves fucking. So it's, the covers look really scary. There's also some animated porn movies I've seen now on Pornhub with centaurs. You know, half horse, half men, who are naughty
I was
towards
just waiting
women.
what you're going to say there, right?
They're naughty. So I think it's a very... Since the show is about buying and selling...
This is a new trend. People are buying monsters.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe there's a monster dildo out there.
Probably.
Anyway, I think it makes people happy. That's the point. On that note, what makes me happy is to have you by my side, finally. I mean, after all these years. For you guys listening, my brother and I lived apart now for the last, I would say, 13 years since I moved to New York. And we came here together, actually, on a plane when we were 10 years old, the first time in this amazing city. And you remember too, Sigge, right? The energy and the neon. And we walked through Times Square. We looked up on the buildings. And
Right.
I, at least at that day, decided that I was going to come back here and I was going to live in New York and become successful. And then it took almost a lifetime, it felt like, to come back and actually do it.
And I know you're glorifying those first trips. For me, it was kind of sad too.
Why?
I remember those first trips as being filled of unfulfilled dreams. I felt so lonely. I mean, being...
As a 10-year-old?
No, and when I was 15, when I was 19, when I was 23.
When you came back?
When I came back, right. I mean, there's something about New York, obviously, that elevates everything, including sadness and loneliness, especially if you're poor.
Yeah, it's
you can feel
an
very
extreme
small.
city.
Yeah. So it wasn't until like a few years ago that I started to feel like I took my revenge on New York. And when I finally could get into the places where I couldn't afford to get in when I was 25.
Right.
Obviously, you have opened a lot of doors for me here too. It's not until recently that I've understood that you are actually a celebrity. For real. I mean,
I know we talked about this last night. I don't feel, I mean, I guess I get recognized all the time, but it just, calling myself a celebrity is so strange. And then you have social media where you put things out, and I'm, trying to sell things all the time, and being a celebrity obviously helps in that. We're going to talk about that soon. We're actually going to ask Yoga Girl, who's selling, trying to sell happiness.
Yeah. It's not uncommon that celebrities don't like calling themselves celebrities.
Right.
And I met Lionel Shriver, the author who wrote We Must Talk About Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to her for several hours, and as I was about to leave, I said to her, I just want to say I love your books. And she said, but what about me? I thought it was funny. Like, she herself felt invisible since I had only talked about her books. Like, I could tell when I'm out with you, people talk about your show, and sometimes, paradoxically, you can feel lonely when people want to talk about the product, not about you.
No,
I mean, you get attention, but
I just think it's the obvious. Like, they don't know what mood I'm in. And, I wake up, I go out on the street, and, they have just watched an episode of my television show or, read my book, and they have this expectation of me being in that specific energy. And then I might be sad, I might be lonely, I might have just had a fight with my husband, whatever it is. And there I am standing in front of them, and they're expecting, something very different. And sometimes what I feel coincides with the character or the person they just saw, and that is easier. But usually on airports, it can get really overwhelming.
Well, I think that's the one healthy thing about becoming a celebrity, is you won't have that unrealistic view of what it is to be a celebrity. You finally understand that celebrities are unhappy too. I mean, we all say it. We all know.
Well, is that your theory, that celebrities are unhappy?
No, but they're not more happy. They're not happier because they are celebrities. This is something we all say, but when we finally become celebrities, we can see that that's actually true. Well,
I find this super, super interesting because celebrities, we think they're happy, right? I mean, they have fame, they have money, they have usually beauty, they have it all, don't they? And is that why? Yes. Is that the reason why our society is so obsessed with celebrities?
Probably.
Yeah, I have this theory I wanted to run by you. So listen to this. I was at the pool at the Bel Air Hotel last week in Los Angeles, where Marilyn Monroe used to hang out.
Right.
And it's so, Los Angeles is just full of celebrities. It's so amazing. I'm laying there having a glass of wine, and I'm looking through the gossip magazines, People Magazine, Us Weekly, all of them. And I noticed something right away. It hit me. These gossip magazines, they have these two really extreme energies, which can be applied, I guess, to everyone covering celebrities today. On one level, you have this kind of happy, a little bit forced, but happy energy. You see a celebrity on one page, and she is photoshopped, maybe she's on the best dressed list, she's smiling, she is trying to maybe sell something. It coincides with her new book, her new movie, something, right? And then you turn the page, and it could be actually the same celebrity, like in a darker energy. Like, it's more real. It's a snapshot. It's like a paparazzi. It's blurry, off guard. It could even be a scary photo. And usually in those coverages, it's like disappointments, it's letdowns. It could be drugs or unhealthy behavior, people cheating. It's more like the truthful story, right? And this is within the same magazine. Right. So it's very, very confusing. I flip the pages in these magazines. On one side, I see Madonna smiling, and I turn the page, and there she is turning away from the camera. And she is, the headline is something she has been dumped by her men. Apparently, there are more than one. Yeah. So I want to ask you, what is it about our culture and our obsession with celebrity that, we want to see the movement, almost the rise and the fall, and these extreme...
I think that the celebrities themselves are aware of this balance. They want to keep that balance between these two sides. Like, a person who would only appear as happy would probably seem annoying. Mm-hmm. Just look at the Kardashians, these problems and controversies surrounding them the recent times with Lamar's and Scott Disick's addiction problems, and they have a family member who's obviously transsexual. There's been a lot of drama surrounding them that has looked from a distance. It has looked like they are a family like our family, like every family, which makes them more sympathetic.
Right.
And I'm sure that the celebrities know and are able to keep that balance. If they seem too happy, which would make them annoying, they make sure that they, through Instagram, show pictures of their daily life where they're not only walking the red carpet, and vice versa.
I want to ask Yoga Girl these things because here's a woman. She lives in a white beach, blue turquoise ocean. She seems so happy. She talks about life. She talks about being happy, living in the moment. But I think going back to the celebrity magazines and flipping through, maybe my theory is that, to your point, we're pulling it back to ourselves. And every morning we wake up, we look ourselves in the mirror. We have bags under our eyes or a pimple. We have too much hair here and there. We're not the perfect human beings that celebrities usually come across in the movies, in the magazines. It's almost like it's built up and accumulated, and we want to see them fail in these magazines.
Well,
and this flip-flopping between fail.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of feel bad for celebrities today. There's such a pressure on them. Not only do they want to look good, they're so aware of the science of celebrities. Like, they've seen so much celebrities through YouTube, through magazines. They strive to be iconic in a way that historically celebrities have not been aware of. Like, I don't think Robert De Niro, for example, when he did Taxi Driver, I don't think he strived to make that role iconic. And that's probably what made him great. Today it feels like a lot of celebrities are more focused on creating iconic moments than creating good art. Just look at the VMAs, for example. Miley Cyrus smoking joints, Justin Bieber trying hard to cry in front of the camera. You have Kanye West, ambitious speech.
Right,
they're all obsessed with creating unforgettable moments more than working with their art. Speaking about the pressure that celebrities of today live in, I mean.
Okay, you're listening to Buying and Selling with Fredrik and Sigge Eklund. And I want to connect what you just said to social media once again. I mean, it's very interesting to me because celebrities today, like never before, they have this outlet. They can actually not control what they look like, because you still have the gossip magazines and you still have people talking about them, but you can actually post as a celebrity and sell and buy anything through your own accounts. So it's almost like we can see an unedited version. I mean, now we all use filters and we crop the photos, but do you think it's easier to be a celebrity today because of social media? And you can actually, if there's a false statement regarding yourself in a magazine, you can actually put out and correct that image.
Well, I don't think it's easier to be a celebrity today. I don't think it's harder either. I just think it's a very different deal. I think the celebrity package, if you want to call it that, is different today. And that package will not fit everybody. It won't fit the same people that became celebrities in the 70s. And this is a little worrisome because a lot of the most talented celebrities of the 70s, for example, they probably wouldn't make it today, because they would be uninterested in this package the way it looks today. And I mean, take Robert De Niro, for example, who's famously shy. I wouldn't imagine him having an Instagram account. And the problem with this is that celebrities today, they become celebrities overnight, and they're sort of thrown into superstardom right away, often very young, compared to the 70s again, where actors often started out in theater. So they learned the craft for several years, like Dustin Hoffman or Jack Nicholson or anyone, even Kevin Spacey, before entering the movie business.
Taylor Swift said in the Wall Street Journal the very famous quote that in the future, young artists won't get a record deal based on the ability to sing, but on the amount of followers on social media. I was reading in the 50s and 60s, obviously decades before social media, The Confidential was a magazine, a gossip magazine. It was huge. I mean, this was like tens of millions of copies, much bigger than People and Us Weekly ever is today. And people were obsessed back then. And then I found an article, very interesting, in the New York Times from 2009 describing sort of the fall of the gossip magazine industry. Now, these magazines we read today, they started in 2008 and 2009 actually falling by 30% yearly. And what's so interesting, and I guess this proves my earlier point, nowhere in this article was social media ever mentioned. Do you see a connection that we buy less of these gossip magazines, or at least we care less, because I can just go to Kim Kardashian's account and I can just see what she has to say unedited and more authentically through her own account?
Right. Why would we pay for something that we've consumed for free?
Yeah, and I can create my own magazine. I can follow different celebrities, and I can put together. It's almost like I don't have to pay for it because it's free. It's instant. I can, refresh the feed, and it's my own gossip magazine if that's what I want through my Instagram.
So you think that these magazines will die out? Or?
Well, I think to prove my point even more, the more serious magazines like Times and New York Times itself, The Economist, they've increased whereas the gossip industry has like fallen. So yes, I definitely see a connection, but don't despair. I have a solution. I'm going to save the entire gossip industry. Okay?
From this radio studio.
Well, I was thinking about it. So they are desperate, these gossip magazines. They are trying to keep their numbers up. They're falling 30% a year. Some are doing better than others. But I think a big flaw is the naming of these new magazines. And I have 3 ideas that I want to run by you. Maybe you can grade them.
Ideas for newspaper concepts.
Yes,
magazine
to save the gossip magazine industry, okay? Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so A is, you're going to grade them. A is amazing and D maybe...
Or F is fail.
Okay, fail, fine. Snap Weekly. So basically it's a celebrity social media magazine which just takes all the different posts from Instagram, from the best post, and analyzes that. The most likes, the top list, who was the most popular, who surpassed who, etc. Snap Weekly, would that be something that you would buy?
So you would package what the audience already have seen on their phones and make them pay
but in
for
a very clever way. Exactly, but in a very clever way. So you would summarize the entire this week on social media kind of thing.
D. I wouldn't pay for it.
Okay, trash.
Okay.
Or sue me bitch, which is just the worst of the worst, which is kind of what some of these magazines already do, but just call spade for spade. So you would actually call the magazine just Sue Me, and it's like the worst of the worst. So none of that good energy that we talked about in the beginning, those like smiley photos, this is just the darkest, because, you know, you're standing there in the grocery shop and you have options. You could buy Us Weekly or People Magazine, or you can buy the trashy one, the really trashy one.
But it sounds like when you were when I was younger and bought condoms before I started having children, and I would feel ashamed
a little bit
buying
guilty,
it. Or once I bought Hitler's Mein Kampf because I was curious of it, and the guy in the cashier looked at me as if I was a neo-Nazi.
Right.
I think people would be ashamed to put that trash on the counter.
Okay, so you're giving it a D.
No, C.
Okay.
It's a little bit better.
Okay, my last one. The Voice. This is interesting. So the celebrities themselves will write the article. So basically the magazine will send out photos of celebrities, and then Madonna, or more likely her camp, can then respond or write the article to that photo. So you're reading a magazine and you have the content from all the celebrities.
A and F.
Why is that?
A, if you're able to go through with it, to get Madonna to write an article about herself every week. F, since you won't, probably.
Okay.
It's not realistically... you can't go through with it. I'm sorry to be such a spoiled sport.
This is good. So basically, the gossip magazine industry is on its way down.
But listen,
because if I can't sell it to you, then no one can.
No, but if we want to make money, why don't you and I start a magazine with dinosaur porn? Men dressed like leprechauns or orcs, fucking elves and princesses.
Okay, you're listening to Buying and Selling with Fredrik and Sigge. And before Rachel comes on, that's Yoga Girl. I want to talk to you for a minute about these quotes about happiness, because the theme today is happiness. We see those happiness quotes every single day. You know the ones we're talking about,
like inspirational quotes.
Yeah, I mean, they're everywhere. And what is it about our society and our culture today? We love them. I mean, especially social media, maybe because we can scroll, our attention span.
Yeah, we love them for 3 seconds. I don't think we remember them after 30 seconds.
Well, they get a lot of likes on social media and people use them.
Yeah, but I mean, I click them because they sound logical. For a second, and then I scroll away from them, and then I never use them in my daily life. It's not like I understand something about the meaning of life that I take with me after that.
To give the listener an idea what we're talking about here is this one. There are people so poor that the only thing they have is money. 10,000 likes, bam, Instagram.
Yeah, but because it makes us feel wise. Because or even superior. We feel smart. Like, I've understood that. I have understood how it works. I agree with that, and I feel a little bit better than those people that haven't understood that.
Well, also you could feel guilty about the subject, so by liking it or by using it or overusing it, you'll feel less guilty.
Yeah, have you heard the one about happiness being like jam?
No, tell me.
I think that's an interesting one, because so many of those quotes are just a play with words, and they're completely useless when it comes to your daily life. Happiness is like jam. If you spread it, you'll often get some on yourself.
Okay.
It's a very popular one.
I have another one here. For every minute you're angry, you lose 60 seconds of happiness. I mean, well, of course. I mean, it's so simple, and that's maybe why it's popular.
Well, some of them can even be dangerous, I think, or misleading.
Dangerous is a strong word.
Yeah, but, you know, the very famous one from Walt Disney. If you dream it, you can do it. It's a very dangerous thing to say. Can you imagine someone who's a terrible singer, for example? If she would read that quote, she could risk throwing away 20 years of her life on a career that never takes off. It would be a very sad thing. But I mean, we're having Yoga Girl. She's going to come on.
Yeah.
Couldn't we? It would be interesting to try these on her.
Yeah, I think we should quiz her, like, and maybe, you never know with people. Is she happy? I mean, she could be a con artist. We don't know. I mean, she could be living, in the Bronx. We don't know. We just trust her from this Instagram.
But I have an idea. Let's throw a quote in there that is essentially nonsense that I come up with now, and we'll see if she can see through that.
Okay.
Would it be mean?
No, I think it'd be interesting because that, see if she can see through our
something really idiotic. Like,
okay. Well, don't tell.
Maybe throw an animal in there. Yeah,
you need to shock me too. Maybe.
Okay, good.
Okay. So you're listening to Buying and Selling, and we're going to go to commercial break, but we'll be back soon with Yoga Girl.
We now return to Buying and Selling with Fredrik and Sigge Eklund on Sirius XM Stars.
This is Fredrik Eklund, and this is Sigge Eklund at Buying and Selling. Rachel, are you there?
I'm here.
Hi, Rachel.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, guys. I'm good. How are you?
Are you in Aruba now on a white beach with lots of puppies and blue ocean, and are you happy?
Yes. all of the above.
Okay, so you're a New York Times bestselling author. You have a new digital TV station dedicated to healing, right? You're a legend on Instagram, 2 million followers, right? I've been following you for years. I love your writing. You're very emotional, kind of like I am in my writing on my Instagram account. We're talking about happiness today, so we have lots of questions for you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Looking at your pictures, you seem constantly in some sort of position. Are you doing yoga right now?
Actually, yes.
On your head, standing up.
All the time. I'm upside down right now. I'm holding the phone with my foot behind my head.
I knew it.
Okay, so I'm going to go right into it. So, do you think people doing yoga are happier than other people? Because I'm not doing yoga, and people told me my whole life, you need to start, Fredrik.
I don't think it's so much about, being happier, but I think people that practice yoga and have been doing it for a while just coping with emotional stuff. That's what I found.
Okay. And let me ask you this. Do you think there are people out there that get annoyed with you looking so happy, at least, from the social media? She hung up on us. It's over.
No, I'm still here.
No, you were breaking up, so we couldn't hear you.
Cut out. I'm here.
No, the question was, do you think there are people out there that get annoyed with you being so happy, or at least seeming happy from...
Oh, I'm not happy all the time. I think that's the thing. Life is very black and white and everything in between, and I try to be as honest as I can with both ends of the spectrum. So I don't know. Maybe people get annoyed, but I also share when I'm really sad or having a rough time. So it's just about being human, I think.
I like that about you, actually, because I think selling anything, and, I sell real estate, but when you're selling anything, you need to build trust. And the only way to build trust is being authentic and just, sharing with the world when you're sad, when you're happy, whatever it is that you're feeling right now, you need to express that, because we're all going through these emotions. So, when you're selling, because you are selling on Instagram, you sold your book, you're selling yoga classes. Is there anything that you can try to teach the audience here and some of your tips?
I mean, I think coming back to that place of authenticity is just the most important thing. And not just, in terms of buying and selling, but just feeling that you're doing what you're doing because you're passionate about it and you have this genuine need to be on this path. It's real. And I think people are always going to vibe with people that are genuine. It's that simple.
You are very transparent. You've written about your troubled past and your family. Are there things you would never write about that you think are too private?
Not really. People ask me that all the time. My dad at home does not want to be in the public eye, so I just avoid talking about him. But that's pretty much it. I think every time something comes my way and it makes me feel a lot, it's part of my healing process to share and be open. And it is true, like you say, everybody feels the same things, just not always at the same time. So it's nice to know that there's other people out there that go through the same things all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell by the comments under your pictures that people are your followers are sometimes very touched by the things you write. I'm sure you get a lot of emails from people who want you to help them. I mean, you seem to have that reaction in people. I can imagine anyway. Can that be stressful, that you feel a responsibility to answer all of them?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always gotten a lot of, outreach and people wanting support. And then the past, I think, year and a half, it's gotten increasingly desperate, almost. A lot of people that have gone through loss or, suffering through depression. I even sometimes get suicide notes from people that are really in a desperate place.
Do you answer them?
And it was, oh yes, all of them. I mean, I do my best. All the urgent ones, the really desperate ones, I answer personally, but it gets overwhelming, definitely.
How do you view your own unhappiness today? Because people are your followers are sometimes very touched by the things you write. I'm sure you get a lot of emails from people who want you to help them. I mean, you seem to have that reaction in people. I can imagine anyway. Can that be stressful, that you feel a responsibility to answer all of them?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always gotten a lot of, outreach and people wanting support. And then the past, I think, year and a half, it's gotten increasingly desperate, almost. A lot of people that have gone through loss or, suffering through depression. I even sometimes get suicide notes from people that are really in a desperate place.
Do you answer them?
And it was, oh yes, all of them. I mean, I do my best. All the urgent ones, the really desperate ones, I answer personally, but it gets overwhelming, definitely.
Now, how do you view your own unhappiness today? Because you told us that you were unhappy as a teenager. Do you look at that as an advantage today, that you have that experience?
Yes, I mean, for sure. I think, some of us are just more blessed to have been through a lot of heavy things at an early age. Mm-hmm. It forces you to really question, what it is that you want in life, and it forces you to look for happiness in a way that I don't think you would have if you hadn't gone through those heavy things.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you something about happiness. Sigge and I, my brother, we were discussing last night, and I guess we have two different opposite ideas of what happiness is, or maybe you can help us out here. Because to me, happiness is so temporary. It comes and it goes, and it can't really stay in your body for too long. It's almost like I want to find another word for something that's more permanent. Maybe, hopefully, what you're feeling when you're doing yoga and you're living in this beautiful sunny place is joy that word? Do you understand what I'm saying? The difference between something temporary and something that you can feel your entire life. Because material things, and when I sell an apartment or I buy a handbag, it doesn't matter. That's a quick little burst of happiness.
I know the difference. Yeah, I know what you mean. I think one of the greatest lessons we can learn in life is realizing that everything is temporary, right? Nothing is forever. So even if you find that
except yoga.
Except yoga, I mean,
for life.
Yoga comes and goes too, I mean, everything, life, marriage, kids. I mean, everything that you feel in life, it goes up and it goes down. And I think with happiness and even with joy, it's the same thing. And I think trying to cling to happiness in that way, that it's a big part of our suffering, this idea that we have to be happy all the time. So whenever we're unhappy, we automatically go into this kind of panic mode where we try to change everything about, ourselves or our bodies or our careers, family, just to find that fleeting moment again, when sometimes being sad is a really good thing. It's part of life, learning how to live in that spectrum as well.
Mm. I think there's one thing that is the thing we were talking about last night, the thing that I think is constant, at least for me. I reached a point where I started to feel that the world is a safe place from having earlier felt it was an unsafe place. And I seem to be there now. That seems to be constant for me now. Do you know what I'm talking about? And that I think meditation has helped me get there, feeling not threatened by the world.
Yes.
Can you recognize yourself in this?
That's a big thing, feeling safe, or I think it's similar to having trust in life, that even when bad things happen, that feeling of safety that, okay, I'm in this bad place right now, but I'm still okay.
Yeah, but that has to do with...
Trust.
that has to do with love too. I mean, if you feel love and you have love in your life and you have different layers where you can fall back to, you have family, then it will feel safer because, and to your point, Rachel, you won't cling to certain things because it doesn't really matter, because the most important things in life are your relationships.
Or as I usually say, happiness is like jam. If you spread it, you get some on yourself.
Spread it on yourself. I love
You
that.
like it?
I do. But I mean, I still think that since everything is fleeting, learning how to develop that sense of peace, if it's feeling safe with the world or feeling a sense of joy throughout your day, it really begins and ends with ourselves, because our relationships is also one of I think, the most unstable parts of life as well. We can't control everything that happens around us. And at least for me, yoga and meditation was a huge step of finding that on my own, not needing a relationship or a boyfriend or, someone else to make me happy, but realizing that I'm in charge of that.
Do you mind being a sex symbol? I have several friends who follow you on Instagram because they like looking at you rather than
tight pants,
rather than learning yoga. Or does that make you
I
feel
don't know.
weird?
I like to think that at some point maybe they'll read what I write, So there's always that. But I realize every time I share something that's not just yoga or handstands or, the kind of more easygoing things, I lose a ton of followers every time. So every time I share something negative or I'm having a tough day or death, whatever it is, I lose sometimes thousands of followers.
Oh, really?
Do you care how many followers you have? Is that important to you? Do you monitor that like on a daily basis?
No. I think it's interesting to see that every time I share something that's difficult, how some people go. And I know that's the type of person that unfollows. So if they're there for the, beach shots or the yoga pants or whatever, they're not going to want to hear about the deeper, harder aspects of life, and then they leave. And that's okay. I think it's a good thing.
Because I can feel like I'm guilty myself, because I feel like I'm a person who says to the world, I don't care how many followers I have, and if anything, I want less followers as long as I have the loving there. But yet every morning I wake up, I go in, I kind of have a daily check. How many followers? Did it increase, decrease? Am I doing okay in the social media world? And I don't think that's healthy.
But I mean, it's also it's a business, right? So there's two aspects of that. You want to keep growing that business, or for me, I always want the community to keep blossoming. But I think I would rather have, 1,000 very dedicated, heartfelt people that care than 100,000 people that don't give a crap.
Right. Okay,
and those are also the people that, that will, come to my yoga classes and that will buy my book and listen and read what I write, as opposed to the people that just scroll by and don't really stay present.
So before the break, we were talking about inspirational quotes. They're very popular now on Instagram. What is your general thought about inspirational quotes or motivational quotes? You see them all the time, on social media. People posting beautiful pictures and then having this, a sentence that's supposed to make you think about life or motivate you. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I know it very well.
Do you think they work?
I'm not a big fan. I think there's a difference, I follow some people that you can tell they take time and they write things that they are experiencing, it's their own words from their own experience in that moment, and I think that can be very inspirational. But the kind of copy-paste Gandhi quote.
Right.
But in people's defense, too, not everybody's an amazing writer. So if you don't know how to write, I mean, it could be an easy way, something you throw out and then it means something to you in that moment.
Right. I mean, if it means something to you in that moment, yes. But there's people that do that 5 times a day. They just probably Google like inspiration and then copy paste. I think whenever you see a post, you can immediately tell just by how you feel looking at it if it's genuine or not. You really, how people say that you become like the 5 people you spend the most time surrounding yourself with. I think with time, we should think of social media the same way. So the people that we follow and the things we scroll through on our feeds every day, it affects us in some shape or form. So at least for me, it's important that it's people that I genuinely feel inspired by, or that I feel, lift me up in a way, as opposed to, I don't know, there's a lot of fake and ungenuine things out there as well.
Right. You're listening to Buying and Selling with Fredrik and Sigge Eklund, and we have the beautiful, amazing, spiritual yoga girl with us on. We want to try some of these quotes
since you're the queen of inspiration.
You're the expert. We want you to grade them for us.
So
grade them.
We want
yes, A being superior and F being a total failure.
If you could help us find out which of these actually are meaningful, you would grade them from A to F.
Okay.
We have a few examples here. Fredrik, you had some with money in it, right?
Yes. Well, I had this one. There are people so poor that the only thing they have is money.
I've heard that.
I like that you have to think. That's good that you get silent for like about 2 seconds. That's a good thing.
Yeah, because I mean...
Is money important to you?
I mean, it is. Not, as an end of life, as a point of everything, but being comfortable, at least right now, is important. And it didn't used to be. I used to be very happy with nothing, but yeah, I think it's part of growing older, maybe.
Sounds like you want to give it a B+. Am I right?
I think a B.
B minus, it sounds like to me.
Okay, the next one. If you can dream it, you can do it.
Oh, no, I really don't like it. I think...
Me neither.
No, I think it's a D. Is there such a thing?
I like it. I mean, everything starts with an idea and a dream, and it starts within your heart or brain or stomach, whatever. When I lived in Sweden and I had this crazy dream to move by myself, leaving my family, leaving my brother, leaving everybody to go to New York. I mean, yes, it was a dream. I think it's great. People got a dream.
But it's so bumper stickery.
Yes.
It's not very poetic. Okay, let's see. What about this one? Always be yourself, unless you can be a bird. Then spread your wings and fly away.
Oh, wow. I've seen that one, like, always be yourself, unless you can be Batman. Always be Batman. That one, I like
that's a good one.
More.
A-.
I think this one maybe a C.
Oh, really?
I mean, where are you going to fly? I don't know, maybe a D. I don't know if it's positive or not. Be a bird and fly away. Where are you going?
My grandmother always said, to fly like a bird, you first have to cut off the poop that weighs you down. It's true. All the negativity, these people, when you rise and you're like your career or your happiness, your love,
what do
whatever
you mean,
it is.
cut the dried poop?
No, I didn't say dried poop, but I mean, I'm sure,
Otherwise, you can't cut it with a knife. If it's not dry.
The idea is that you get rid of the negativity, the poop, because we all have these people, like the jealous neighbor. It could be somebody at work. It's your ex, people who don't want to see you succeed and be happy. So you're starting flying. Your wings are catching up air, and you're rising, and then the poop has to fall off. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. But
C.
I mean, sometimes
Do you have any poop? Do you have any poop in your life, Rachel? Do you need to cut off?
Everybody has poop in their life.
Okay, we're not doing well here. It's everything gets a B or a C.
Yeah.
We're trying to get an A from
give
you.
me a really great one. Yeah, give me.
Do you have anyone do you have any that you believe in or use?
Oh God, there are so many. I like to read like passages from books when I teach sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I have some favorite authors and favorite books that I'll read from, but I don't have that like one sentence quote that motivates me every day.
Well, you talk a lot about on your post, a lot about living in the moment, which I like, and just breathing or just realizing that whatever you're going through is supposed to happen. So maybe you have one of those.
I mean, I really like the idea of trust that life takes you where you need to go. For me, that's a big one, especially in difficult times. Right. Because it's always.
Is it true that
whenever you go through something like that, I think it takes a while for you to get the realization of like, oh, I needed that to get from point A to point B, for instance. But in the moment when you're living it, it's hard to remember.
Is it true that your dog has 90,000 followers on his Instagram account?
Yeah. Yes.
Is it the world's most popular dog on Instagram?
No.
I think Andy's dog has more.
Dogs.
Oh, really?
There's a what's his name? Tuna.
Yes, Tuna melts my heart. Yes.
Yes.
With the funny teeth.
There's a ton.
I look like that in the morning. Very similar face.
Before you cut off the poop.
Yeah, before I brush the poop off my teeth.
Good.
Well. So So, yoga girl, I want to ask you one thing more. You know, you don't have an apartment in New York yet. I sell real estate. What's your dream apartment here? Is it a penthouse, townhouse? Where do you live right now? Do you live in one of those beach huts on Aruba? And tell me about
what Fredrik is telling you is he wants to help you.
3%.
I think that sounds amazing. Yeah, help me get a place in New York. That'd be awesome. I mean, right now here, I live in the middle of the desert, actually. Aruba is a desert island. So we have the beaches and the blue water, but lots of cacti and everything that grows here can kind of hurt you a little bit. But we have a fairly regular house. It's not a hut. It's kind of like a standard.
But is it your dream? I mean, do you feel like you're going back to the dream? Do you feel like where would you want to end up? Like to live? What's your dream apartment or house or situation?
If you dream it, you can do it.
You can live it.
If you dream it, you can do it. I think dream would be. I spent a lot of time in Sweden this summer, and for the first time in a really long time, I had this longing for Sweden. So I don't know. Like having a little summer house on a lake somewhere in Sweden would be beautiful. But
that's a possibility. You can do that, right? You can do anything you want. I mean, you can do yoga anywhere in the world. That's the beauty of what you do, right? You can do classes. You can write books. You can, go on radio like you're doing now. You're a woman of the world.
Absolutely, yeah. I think possibilities are everywhere, for sure.
That's beautiful end words to this interview.
Well, thank you, Rachel, so much for coming on, and keep on owning Instagram and being inspirational. I love waking up and reading your posts every morning.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel.
Okay, and come to New York, big kiss.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. You're listening to Buying and Selling with Sigge and Fredrik Eklund. We'll be right back.
Now, more Buying and Selling with Fredrik and Sigge Eklund on Sirius XM Stars.
You're listening to Buying and Selling with Fredrik and Sigge Eklund. And that was Yoga Girl.
So interesting talking to her. I mean, I think it's very common that people that are loud on social media are always sort of low key when you meet them in real life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying she was shy, but she wasn't as outspoken as she was in her Instagram.
Right. Well,
I find it to be like a pattern.
Right. Well, she's an amazing writer. I have to give it to her. So, is that what you're saying that you expected?
No, she's an amazing person too. But it's almost like people compensate on social media for not being extremely social in real life. You know what I mean?
Right. I thought it was really interesting about her asking her about money, but she didn't really answer if it was that important to her. But I think reading and trying to connect happiness to money and buying and selling. This is a very interesting point I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
I read an article that $75,000 is the level or average level to be happy. And this, I believe, is a Princeton review or paper. So the average salary...
what do you mean the optimal level?
Well,
of
hear me out.
happiness?
So the states in United States, somewhere between Nevada and Florida, you hit $75,000 in average salary. And you need $75,000 according to this paper to be happy. And above that, there's sort of a diminishing return. So let's say you make $750,000. You're not going to be that much happier.
Right.
So there's sort of a minimum. And I can relate to that because, I mean, I have a lot of clients, billionaire clients in real estate, and not a lot of them are that happy. I mean, in the sense I set records, I double their money, they asking $10 million to get $12 million, and yet it's hard to get them really happy.
Yeah, I think
there's some truth to that.
Research has shown that money is overrated when it comes to happiness. I saw a TED Talk once by a name, I think he was called Dan Gilbert, and he said something that stuck with me, that our brain is an experience simulator, that it constantly simulates future experience, just like pilots train on flight simulators. We dream up future scenarios, and we're so good at it. It's like a psychological immune system
in there too.
Yeah, sure, but it adjusts itself to make us feel better. For example, if you're poor and you dream about being rich, that feeling you get when you dream about being rich is equivalent to actually being rich. You know what I mean? As you dream, as you simulate what you're going to be like in the future, you become happier. But the most interesting thing he said was, the more free you are, the more dreams you have fulfilled, the less capable you are at simulating. The more trapped you are, the better you are at simulating. For example, like if you're married, trapped, so to speak.
The grass is greener.
And you see, then you are better at simulating and dreaming. If you're free, you're less good at it. So poor money will have less money, but will be better at simulating. And a rich person will have more money, but will be worse at simulating.
Right.
Which makes the sum total of happiness about the same for rich and poor. That's what his research showed.
No money, more problem.
Yeah,
Remember
very
that?
interesting. I mean, I have a similar way of thinking when I try to understand myself. I call it my emotional ATM.
What do you mean, like a cash register, cash machine?
Yeah, that
Where you withdraw cash.
Deposit and withdraw. Like when I experience bad things or I work hard for a long time, I don't have any free time, I deposit into my emotional ATM.
Wait,
and then
deposit happiness or life experiences?
Deposit unhappiness to be able to withdraw it as happiness. That's why I can't be happy all the time, because my
like
emotional bank account would run empty, right? That's why I can't be in love with someone forever. The account will be empty after a while. You have to like deposit some emotional units into it by being unhappy for a while. Then you can withdraw again.
So let's say you do something that makes you incredibly happy. It's like a weekend, the most happiest weekend of your life, and you just take everything out. Do you feel like almost dirty, or like you get a hangover from using all that cash in the bank?
Yes, exactly. A guilt feeling almost. You can feel that in the end of the summer when you start feeling your whole body wants to go back to work. You feel like you had bad conscience just because you've been free so long.
Right. Well, recently, as you know, because you're my brother, I had something kind of bad happen in our lives. We had a miscarriage, and I feel like, well, I felt so empty and so sad, and basically my bank account was completely empty. So how does that fit into your theory? Because it wasn't like I'd been, well, I guess I had deposited the ATM for a while, but then it just completely ran all empty.
Well, it was empty then, right after the miscarriage.
Yeah,
but,
for like days there was nothing. I mean, there wasn't even air. I was so deflated.
But I mean, having spent time with you now for a few days, I would say that your mental account is fuller than ever when 2 months have passed.
Right.
So maybe I need to revise the theory.
Yeah, maybe it's the other way around. Maybe it's quite the opposite. It has nothing to do with happiness. It's more about the intensity of life, or like putting in life experiences, taking out, and the happy has a counterpart in sadness, and we need both. Kind of like what Yoga Girl said. Life is black and white, or at least up and down, like the celebrities we talked about, the rise and the fall. And if you look at it in a bigger period, it's the entire journey.
Okay, so what you're saying is that when we feel alive, we put in.
Right.
Whether it's unhappiness or happiness, and then we were bored. When our mind is dead, we take out.
When there's this quiet vacuum and you are simulating or dreaming and you just want to get out of your situation, that is when you take out.
Well, thank you for refining my ATM theory.
Yes.
And also, I think it works because when I look back, when I remember things, it's not the most ecstatic memories I treasure the most. It's more the rich ones. They could be the melancholic ones.
Yeah, because
where
you
I felt a lot of feelings. Yeah, those memories are richer.
Intensely.
Right.
That goes to love too, because love, which we haven't talked about so much today, but I mean that is, if anything, when love is real, it's intense. I mean, it's everything. Love shouldn't ever get boring, because then it isn't really love. I mean, you feel so strongly, and that's going back to the miscarriage. I loved her, well, them, our twins, before they were even born, and then they weren't born. But that's love, because it was intense. It was
I love this, because then that means you will double the number of units that is accepted in the mental ATM. If your ATM accepts both unhappiness and happiness,
right?
If it accepts both those currencies,
so then we're rich. Everyone's rich, because everyone has these experiences.
Do we sound pretentious now?
Well,
sound like we're doing.
It sounds like we have a lot of money to buy dinosaur porn. That's what I
and something can be true and pretentious at the same time too. Fortunately,
yes, we know that from the happiness quotes.
Yeah,
we talked about that. Yeah, but we still haven't made a decision, Sigge. Like, can happiness be bought? I think that's the one question that we're all asking ourselves in this episode over and over again. We asked about celebrities. Can they buy happiness? Are they happy? We asked Yoga Girl. I've asked you once again now. Do you think money matters? Yes, to a certain extent. Can I, as a very wealthy person, become happy because of my purchasing power?
Well, we both met both poor and rich people. We both have had times when we had very little money, and we had times when we had a lot of money. And I would say that when you're happy, at those moments, it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. I would say it's easier to be unhappy with money, because you could be unhappy in a jacuzzi in a nice hotel room instead of being it in a very small apartment without food.
Yeah, and
would you agree?
Well, I would answer differently, because I think, going back to what I told Yoga Girl, to me, like, happy isn't the right word, because you can buy happiness with money. I mean, you can go out and buy that new gold iPhone, and that makes you happy for about 15 minutes, but it's temporary and it fades, and then you're basically back to where you were, the same person.
Right.
So for me, it's more like joy. You cannot buy joy. Joy I get from sitting here in New York City with you, living in New York City, coming home to Derek.
Now you're talking about the social aspect, which is very important, because
but relationships and love, that cannot be bought.
But they can sort of, because when you're successful at what you do, that opens doors for you. If you're talented in what you do, or you work hard, then you will meet other people that are talented that works the same thing.
That's not purchasing those people. It has nothing to do with money.
But the success and the money sort of indirectly will help you enter those rooms where there'll be people that are like you or talented in the same way, and that will help you become happier, hopefully. I mean, the social aspect is always very crucial to how you feel.
There's so many studies on that people that are alone are not happy, and the people that have a rich social life and big families, lots of siblings, you are a social creature at work, you are happier. So I think the answer is in people and these truthful, authentic relationships. I know a lot of very wealthy people, and they don't seem so happy to me, because they seem alone. They're not sharing that dream. I think in any relationship, like with your wife or your husband, if you share a dream, simulating together.
Maybe that's what you can give them too. You can be their friend for a few days while you sell them their apartment.
Well, no, it's very important. It's very important. I always say when I'm working with celebrities, I mean, I was out with Jennifer Lopez, and my idea with her, with any celebrity, is like they're going to see me as their friend. When they stop seeing Fredrik, the real estate broker, and Fredrik, just the guy I want to have lunch with, that's when I succeeded. And that's ultimately, not only going to make the deal and do the sell, but I'm also going to be happier. And that's the way to live.
These are such beautiful end words, Fredrik.
Thank you.
I'm happy to be here with you.
I'm happy you're here, my brother. We're going to walk out of here, hand in hand. No? You're not gonna hold my
maybe
hand?
side by side at least. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go out in the sun, and we have all of New York, and I'm gonna be selling like a maniac.
I'll go home and
You're gonna be buying dinosaur porn.
I'll go home and Google leprechaun porn, the subgenre that I'm so curious at.
No, we're gonna be back here. We're in the city where we came as 10-year-olds, and we have we've been dreaming about this, and we're gonna look up, and we're gonna see the skyscraper in the sky, and all the people around us, everyone trying to be happy.
Yeah, all part of the same movement forward.
Right.
Maybe as happy as Yoga Girl, if we're lucky.
Thank you for listening to Buying and Selling. We'll be back next week on Sirius XM 109.
Bye.